Alright guys, welcome to yet another live installment of Kyle's Cars, and I'm just trying to get this microphone working a little bit better. The last stream that I did, the audio in it was all over the place because I'm using a different microphone, a much higher quality microphone than I used before, but there's a little bit of a learning curve, which I apologize. It really sucks because that last live stream actually did awesome as far as people, watching it, interacting with it. The live chat was awesome. So yeah, I'm a little bit bummed out that the audio in that particular stream didn't come out as nice as I wanted. And if you guys are using a Blue Yeti microphone, don't use it with in a USB splitter. I have a splitter because my computer doesn't have enough USB ports to support all of the peripherals that I use. But the microphone uses a lot of power, so even though I had it in a USB 3 port, it just kept cutting out and not working very well. So yeah. Also, another thing is if you guys watch this live, don't be afraid to put in the chat if there's any type of technical glitches that you're seeing on your end, because I don't have a way to be aware of it unless somebody tells me. If the audio is too loud, if it's too quiet, whatever, just throw it in there and I can make that adjustment to make it a little bit better for you, because I am monitoring myself through the headphones while I'm live streaming, but at the end of the day, it's going through the microphone. That monitor comes straight from the microphone to my headphones, but then it goes on to another program on the computer, and then that program exports the stream to YouTube. So it's going through three different levels here before you actually see it. So I apologize if there's any technical glitches. I'm doing my best here to try and mitigate all of that. So so one thing I did want to do today is kind of go through and give you guys some answers to questions that you might have had. I do try to answer my comments on my videos pretty regularly, but sometimes trying to convey something through written words doesn't work out as easy as just saying it to you, and you might not even be aware that question was asked. Sometimes I get the same question repetitively, so if I make a video and might answer a question you didn't even have, but now that you hear the answer, you might learn something from it, might get some useful information for the future. So yeah, that's kind of what I go through. So if you are a regular viewer of my channel, don't be afraid to leave a comment, because I will either reply directly to the comment, or I will try to put it in a live stream, if the comment makes sense to kind of go over. If nothing else, I will definitely go ahead and touch on it briefly on a live stream. So here we go. I'm going to go ahead and kind of set us up here to look at a couple of these comments. I just realized I probably want to zoom this in so you guys can also read what is here, because it might look good to me, but if you're watching on a smaller device, it might not look so great. So you'll see the whole comment thread here, just the way that I see it, and we'll just start looking through. And if you have any other questions as we're going through, feel free to throw them in the chat and I will answer them as we go along. So the first question that we have here is from a user called Alex E46. So he's asking, or maybe not asking, but commenting on the first video that I made about the Zurich ZR11 review that I did, which is actually a pretty popular video, surprisingly. He says, when I plug it into my BMW, I don't even get the SRS option. So SRS is safety restraint system. So your SRS system is your airbags and your seat belts, mostly in most cars. I know some people think that SRS just means airbags, but that's not necessarily true. It also can control your seat belts. It also will pick up the weight sensors in the seats, because it's not going to want to deploy an airbag to a seat that doesn't have a passenger in it, or a small passenger that might get hurt by the airbag more than what the airbag will help. So he says, when I plug it into my BMW, I don't even get the SRS option. So you probably just got lucky, but I do get OEM codes. He means OEM advanced codes, which is awesome. I agree they should advise it. I think he meant advise it. And I think actually he means revise it. So yeah, so essentially I really don't know what is going on with his specific unit. Like I said back in that video, and the later video that I made right after, which actually somebody commented on right below, basically Harbor Freight lays out like what they want the product to do, and they task Chinese manufacturing companies that are not really Harbor Freight. They'll go to like Shenzhen in China and find manufacturers that will run the products to their design specifications for the lowest price. And I mean, they probably have like the same, you know, manufacturers that will go through and just, you know, build like the same product for several different people and say, look, I make this, you know, I make this wrench for Craftsman already. You know, I have some extra tooling for it. We can kind of tweak it a little bit so we can stamp your name in it instead of Craftsman, and we'll run it for really, really cheap because it's already here. Or Honda will stop making a certain line of engines, and you know, they'll basically be stuck with all the tooling, which is still good, and they'll like basically say, listen, we'll sell you the same engine that we made for Honda because we already own the tooling for it. We'll sell you all the parts for that engine that we made for Honda, and you know, we'll make it with a little bit lower grade materials so it's cheaper, and you know, you'll get it for like whatever, a third or a quarter the cost that it cost Honda. Because also Harbor Freight didn't put any research and development time into that, so you know, all they're doing is just buying out something that somebody else doesn't even want to make anymore. That's what like the Predator engines are and everything. But what can happen is because the quality control on these Chinese manufacturers is, you know, some are really good and some really pride themselves on their quality control, but some of them just don't care. They're not making enough money to go and justify all that. So Harbor Freight thought, I believe they thought like pretty good faith in this, that it was going to do all these functions that they put in the chart. But the reality of it is some of them ended up with one type of firmware, other ones ended up with a different type of firmware, and you know, it was hard for them to keep track of. So you'll get like what happened to me was I got a ZR11 that was supposed to show live data, but it didn't have that capability, and then I made a video showing that it didn't have that capability, and everybody was getting really upset with me. But just because one person's unit does one thing or doesn't do one thing, it doesn't mean the next one's going to do it. You know, there's just no way around it. I mean, it was doing stuff that it wasn't advertised to do, and then, you know, I can't remember specifically everything the ZR11 did and didn't do. I'd have to go back and watch the video and see what I said, but you know, it was doing some things that it wasn't advertised as being capable of, but then not doing things that it was advertised to do. So, yeah. I mean, that's pretty much what I told him. I said, you know, you can try updating the firmware for your model, but you know, you don't know really what you're gonna get. If you have any trouble, just swap it out. Harbor Freight is really, really easy going about swapping stuff out, honestly. Like, you can go there, like I've gone there without receipts and they've swapped me out. Like they just don't care. Like, they're just such a huge company making so much money, and their margins are so high on these tools. They got nothing to lose. Like, they're like, okay, here's another one. We'll sell this one at 20% off on the open box shelf, and they're still making plenty of money on it. So yeah, they just, you know, they'd prefer to make you come back because they're making money every single time somebody does a transaction for the most part. Let's see here. So yeah, this guy Scott Berger looked at like an old video that was like pre Rick Dyer drama, but where I mentioned it, like I didn't really like go into too much detail in that video. It was kind of like just when everything was first happening. And he said, just found your page. Being someone who has had a license in Florida, I think he means dealer license, I think Rick can swing his program, and I don't think that he can't swing his program. He's probably talking about the consignment program, which no longer exists, because yeah, he could have swung it, but the problem was he wasn't dealing with it honestly. If he had done it honestly, yeah, he probably could. I mean, I know he could, because he was going to make money on all those cards anyway, even if the program went forward exactly as it was described. And it didn't even do that. Like, he literally just took the money from people. So, says, it works for people who don't know cars. Good starting point. But Rick is a used car dealer, and his reputation is that of a used car dealer. I don't think that used car dealers necessarily all have a bad reputation. I think it is an uphill battle to climb. You can't, you're working in a business that inherently, has this like prejudice against you. So, if you're a car salesman, or you're a lawyer, or any number of different professions, they do have some level of people that believe they're being deceived. And that's why you see companies like CarMax that do really well, because people don't perceive it as a used car dealer. They perceive it as a store. For whatever reason, people think that a store is more trustworthy than an individual, which I think, if you look at this objectively, that's not necessarily the case. I mean, the problem is what you're getting with like a big corporate store. Like other ones, there's so many other ones that can be compared. There's such a huge sample size. People just feel more comfortable. They think like that nothing bad will ever happen to them. But just like I think I talked about one time that there was a Walmart that had accidentally was doing somebody's oil and had accidentally filled the engine oil. Like, instead of taking the engine oil and putting it in the engine after they drained it, they put it in the transmission, and the engine blew up. And the owner of the car, was upset, but like they weren't like beyond upset. I mean, mistakes happen, and they just asked Walmart to pay for the damages. And they wouldn't. Like, they would, but they wouldn't really pay for the real damages. She had like a brand new car, essentially, or nearly new car, and she had a warranty on the car. And so for her warranty to carry over, what she had to do was get the engine from the manufacturer. I can't remember if it was a Ford or if it was a GM product, but she had to buy the engine from the manufacturer. But Walmart wasn't willing to pay for that kind of service. They just wanted to pay for like a cheap used engine out of a wrecked vehicle, which is totally fine. Like, if you have nothing else to lose, like, that would be the reasonable thing to do. But the problem is that she was going to lose her warranty, and she shouldn't have had to suffer a loss because she did business with Walmart. Walmart, is a big company. So yeah, like stuff like that proves that they, not necessarily, doing business with a big company is going to be beneficial to you. And the same thing happened with Auto Auction Rebuilds. The guy that I talked about in my last stream, he just put out a video where he said that Walmart stripped out the drain bolt in his oil pan, and he brought it to another place, Firestone, and they said it's stripped out. You need to take it back to Walmart and get them to fix it. And then he takes it back to Walmart, and Walmart tried to say that Firestone did it. So nobody's taking both Firestone and Walmart. No matter who's really at fault, I tend to lean towards Walmart. But even if Firestone's at fault, you get two big companies, and neither of them are just taking responsibility for something that, in the scheme of things, is just like small potatoes. Like Walmart is making so much money, they're paying people crap. Like, they can't afford to just fix a problem that one of their employees, who say what you want about them, but the fact of the matter is they're just low paid employees that are doing a job that you probably want somebody that's being paid a little bit better to be doing. So so just because you're a big company doesn't mean you're any more trustworthy than a car dealer. But I do understand that there is a prejudice against somebody in that role. Paul Tracy, it says, "What up, homie? Good to see you, Paul. I was actually I forgot what I was gonna say. Yeah, Uh, I was just wondering the other day because I was doing a little bit of day trading today, and I thought about all the questions that you had asked. Um, but yeah. Um, anyway, so this other comment that we were just reading, Scott Berger, he had said that it works for people who don't know cars. So he's talking about like people that don't know cars that want to start a car dealership. That's like a good place to start. I tend to disagree. What I mean by that is I don't think that like if you really want to start a car dealership, like that you shouldn't do it. I think you should do whatever you think you'd be good at. But what I disagree with is all these people trying to jump into car dealerships that don't know cars. You can't go and try to think like, for instance, if you were you name it, like any business, any retailer of anything, and you didn't know your product like the back of your hand, you didn't know your competitors, you didn't know your choices, like you have to know your product to have a successful business. That's just square one. If you want to be a car dealer, and you don't know enough about cars to really do it, you're putting the cart before the horse. It's like saying like you want to open a beauty salon or a barber shop, but you don't know like different types of haircuts. Well, okay, would you really want to start off by looking at, by just trying to figure out how to start a barber shop, or would you be better off to start off by learning different haircuts, like a crew cut or a hard part or whatever? And I don't know enough about hair. I would never try it. Or a painting business. If you want to start a painting business, sure, you can make a ton of money, and you could probably make some money without really knowing your products. But you would make a hell of a lot better of a painting business if you knew your product, you knew what you were selling, you knew how to do the job good, very, very well, you knew how to get your inventory, which is your materials, for the best price, and get the best quality for the best price. That's the same thing when you're selling a car. So that's just like square one. So like I said, you want to start a car dealership, great. If you know the product, go for it, pull the trigger. If you know that product perfectly, you can look at a car without looking at any of the badging or the names on the sides, and you can look at 90% of all cars that go down the road from like 100 feet away and name the make and model of the car, and maybe even guess the year within like 3 years, then you're ready to at least think about starting a car dealership. If you can't do at least that, that's like a minimum. If you can't do that, then you definitely aren't ready for a car dealership. I don't care how many of Rick Dyer's videos you watch, man. That's just like base. You gotta know your product. Then if you can name cars just by seeing them pass you on the road real quick, you can sit there and say Chevy Traverse, Dodge Neon, Grand Caravan, Acura MDX. If you can start doing that, then you can really think about it. But what you really need to do is start knowing like the common issues and the troubles that are coming up, and that will make you like start really popping off. And you don't have to be a car dealer if you can get good enough. So yeah. Paul Tracy said day trading will make you start chain smoking cigarettes. Probably. I had a pretty stressful day today, day trading. I started off, and I'm getting off topic here with you guys, but bear with me, if this isn't the content that you're looking for. But I started off trading AMD, and I was doing pretty good. I went up, and I went down, and I went up again, and I finally made it to $180 in profit on AMD. Which is my target, because I was, it's all about risk management with day trading. I don't want to get too in depth. I don't want to be perceived as giving you advice on day trading, but trading AMD, I got up to $180 in profit, and I went to pull the trigger on it because I knew that was going to be a level of resistance on that, and I hit the button, and I kept getting errors, and I had to call the broker to fix it because it wasn't anything I did. It was something wrong with something on the trading desk side of it. There was like an order that had been what's called a immediate or cancel order. So that means if your order doesn't get filled, it just closes out. But what happened was it had remained open and the system like had a glitch and wouldn't sell my shares. So I had to call them, and like anything else, when you're calling technical support, you have to like wait for people to transfer you, you're on hold, all that. And with day trading, like every second counts. You don't have time to be sitting on hold. So I'm sitting there at $180 in profit and just watching it, because it hit that peak, and it just kept going down and down and down and down and down. And then it dropped down so far. It dropped down to where by the time I had the problem fixed and I could actually clear out of the trade, I was down to only $100 in profit. And then I tried to ride it out. I tried to because I only wanted to be at 180. I would have been done for the whole day. I know that doesn't sound like enough to live on, $180 profit in a day, and it's not, but it's not the only thing I'm doing. I've got a pretty small account. I'm only looking for small gains. If I start getting crazy, I'm just going to get, it's just being greedy. You're not going to make anything. So then, I rode that $100 trying to see if it would climb back up to 180, and it just wasn't. And then it actually dropped down to like $30 profit. I was still in the green the whole time, but I eventually climbed up back to like $103 in profit, and I just closed out of the trade and I walked away. And I haven't even looked at the price. It might have climbed right back up, but it probably would have taken all day, because that was riding a market open. So I don't want to get too technical, but a lot of times stuff will happen in the open that you'll never see again all day. So and yeah, it's tricky because you can lose a lot of money trying to catch an open. But I caught it really, really well. I caught like my shares right within 10 minutes of the open, and I just rode it up until about 10 o'clock in the morning. By 10 o'clock in the morning, I was at $180 in profit, and I went to try and close, and I got screwed. So Paul says, dude, that guy at Auto Auction Rebuilds talks about all the bad things going on in his life, and he is just he is making money on YouTube. I think I'm going to start a channel and get paid as well. Yeah, it goes both sides. You can make a lot of money and bad things can still happen again. It's like you could have a great job making $1 million a year, and you could still have like your life falling apart around you. So the money isn't like a big deal, and I totally support him. Trying to it's part of his life. Like, it is related to what's going on with him, and I think if you look at his newest video, he is looking for the bright side of it. Paul wants to know what stock was it again. It was AMD. So same thing. It's actually the company that makes processors, Advanced Micro Devices. It's actually that company, because the reason why their stock is got a lot of volume right now is because they're coming out with some new processors, the Ryzen series of processors. They already have the Ryzens, but they're putting out some big Threadripper processors that are going to be stuff for big production type of stuff, and several $1,000 just processors. So just one part of a computer that's several $1,000s. And I'm fairly tech savvy, but I don't know all the specifics of its use. But it's the kind of thing you could make video games with, and maybe low end ones, because you still have big servers that actually do the bulk of the rendering in a company like that. But video editing stuff, all that kind of thing. But yeah, going back to the previous question, that guy talks too slow. His customers will walk out. Maybe. Some customers might if you talk too slow, but also there's some customers that like people that talk slow and explain things to them, and they feel like that's more trustworthy. So it can go either way with that. I know what you're saying, you think he talks slow. So Paul says, I have an idea. My first video for my channel will be me flushing your head down the toilet. Not really, just giving you a swirly. What do you say? I'll split the money with you. Well, you need to have a channel, Paul, that has 1,000 subscribers and 4,000 hours of watch time before they even pay you. So me, I don't make any money because I don't have 1,000 subscribers, which is a good reason, if this is your first video watching, anybody out there, to go ahead and hit the subscribe button, because if I start getting paid for it, I'll make a lot more videos if you like them. I don't know. So yeah, the swirly idea, my head's too big to fit in most toilets, unfortunately. You know, I got like the Jimmy Neutron head going on, so I can't help you with that. I would, you know, I'd let you if it would work, but it just won't. So let's go back over to the comments real quick. Yeah, talking about auto auction rebuild, said that he wishes that he had time to watch the entire video that I made talking about his situation. It took me some time to learn the Yeti as well. He's talking about the microphone, which I had a lot of trouble with in this. Yeah, so that was a tough situation. Kevin Kenny commented on the video that I made about the ZR11, and he said, "Do you know if the scanner has body module, body control module codes in it? You know, if it can read those." I don't know. Possibly, depending on the car, because not every car actually has like a real BCM. Generally, that relates to like Mercedes and BMW and some Audis, stuff like that. But like a lot of cars don't really have like a real dedicated BCM. So at least not like the type that you could pull codes from at all. So yeah. Paul is on the live chat saying, alright, figure this thing out and tell me how to do it. I want to get paid. Well, this is how you do it, okay? You take and you make a channel and you post consistent videos for a while, and you know, add a little bit of humor in there, post them up there, do whatever, and you know, after a while, I mean, I've been at this steadily for about a year or so. Yeah, over a year I've been at this. So I started off, I had a channel like all along, but I didn't really post to it since like 2009. So I started off with about 17 subscribers, and I went from 17 to 374 in just over a year. So just to give you an idea, so that's me. I have like over 100, I think I have 101. This will be my 102nd video that I have put on this channel. So I mean, and you can do it with less videos depending on how engaging you are, and you can you know, try and tag your videos really well and use good thumbnails, good titles, good descriptions, and over time, depending on how moving your content is, you know, you'll see growth for sure. You know, my videos, I'm not really worried about being super entertaining. I'm just kind of talking to people, interacting with people. So I'm growing a lot slower than like somebody that had like a crazy, like funny channel, all that. You know, the other way you can do it is you could just make videos that are just rip-offs of other videos, which is hard to do nowadays because, you know, if you're just ripping other videos, YouTube will find out pretty easy. They have like computer systems that are just looking for like songs and like matches to other videos already on the platform. So if you're just like reposting stuff, you're not really going to get that far. But you know, back in the day, before that was all a thing, people made probably millions of dollars on song lyric videos. So, you know, people would take a song, they'd put it in a simple, like, you know, Windows Movie Maker video editor and type in the lyrics as the song went along, throw it up on YouTube, and, you know, they get like whatever, millions and millions of views because people want to sing it like karaoke. So those are your options. There's no easy way to do it, to be honest. I mean, if there was, then you know, I would have done it. I wouldn't be sitting here with 374 subscribers at the time of this video. So this is not really a question. This is just you know, somebody kind of making a comment. They said, I have a Nissan Sentra 2006, so 2006 Nissan Sentra. It makes 18 miles per gallon in the city. I'm sad about it. I mean, I don't know enough about the car, but to say why that's happening, I had I think it was like a 2007 or 2008. I don't know if it's the same body style as a 06 or not. I think it is. Sentra that a while back that I actually made a short video with. And that car didn't get very bad gas mileage. It had a, you know, a little 4-cylinder. That one had a CVT transmission, so it means a constantly variable transmission, which is not like the best on gas in the world. I mean, once you're going, you're fine. So if like highway, it doesn't make a difference, but city, it's it's like, I don't think it's the best. I think it's a little too loose, so you aren't like the most efficient in the world. Probably like that thing shines the most highway miles and city miles, but they also have a short lifespan. So if your car has a CVT, that might be your issue, possibly. Another thing is you might be driving it really hard. I don't know enough about the situation. And finally, you could just have a car that has like a mechanical issue in general. So Jerry Hubbard commented, I would like to watch your video, but damn dude, it's making me sick watching you pace with your phone. Yeah, so that was on the video I made when I picked up the free Suburban with the LS in it. Essentially, I was just doing like a live stream with my phone, is what he's talking about. And, you know, I was just kind of walking around because I don't like to just sit still, especially like waiting for something and trying to live stream. It's just really tough. And I'm not upset. Like, you know, I think he was trying to be a little bit, you know, condescending with the comment. But the reality of it is it doesn't bother me, because in reality, I just kind of see a comment like that as suggestions to improve my videos. And I've actually kind of implemented like that strategy to like stop that, because I go back once in a while. I don't like to rewatch my videos unless like it's just up and I just want to make sure like the technical side of it is good. But after I make a video or a stream, I try not to rewatch it. I try to just look for people's reactions, because number one, you're your own worst critic, and you know you're gonna like make changes that aren't necessary, that might actually take away from some of the quality of the video. I try to wait to see like if somebody says something about it, because it's already up. Like, what am I gonna do, you know? And you know, I know people in, you know, personally that watch the videos, so they'll tell me in person if there was a problem, usually. That's just my strategy. It doesn't mean it's a good strategy, obviously. But yeah, I was kind of like aware just from like rewatching like just portions of live streams from my phone. I was finding that, yeah, moving around a lot, for one thing, when a video is compressed, if you move around a lot, it makes it hard to compress it, and it makes the quality on YouTube go down, because it's a bigger file when there's more changing pixels in the video. So that alone was enough for me to want to change over. Plus, I had problems with like my data connections, because it's on my phone and I might be trying to go somewhere. So I'm trying to stray away from making you know, live streams from my phone. I'll still do it once in a while, but it's definitely better to do a live stream from you know, a desk for sure. So let's look here. Another guy said I need to shave, dude. Yeah, you know, probably. In that video, he's commenting on another very old video, and the video that he's commenting on, yeah, I was looking pretty scruffy. He's not wrong. Manny Gonzalez says, I just purchased the same as yours. Does it fit Acura Integra 97? And was it hard to do? He's talking about the video where I put a very, very cheap Amazon bought, but you could also buy it on eBay exhaust. It was like $115 with free shipping. It was a full catback system, stainless catback, and that exhaust. So first of all, he's asking if it fits a 97 Integra LS. Yes, it does, as long as it's a 2-door. I don't think, if I remember correctly, that these fit the 4-door correctly. They claim that they do, but then there were like people talking in the reviews, like on Amazon, saying that it didn't really work. I don't know. I don't have a 4-door car. I'm just going by the Amazon reviews. So if you have a coupe, yes, it should. It definitely does, because I put it on, and the 95 and the 97 are the same, essentially. And was it hard to do? Not really. I mean, just like in that video, I did it laying on my back in the grass and whatnot. So, you know, no, it wasn't hard to do. As far as the exhaust itself, for $115, I mean, there's not really anything to complain about. I mean, what can you say? It's a cheap exhaust. It's stainless steel. I would definitely suggest it. So that's where that's at. What else? I'm trying to look for comments I might have missed before. Oh yeah, here we go. So So, okay, Paul, your comment, I responded to it. I think I responded to it in the last live stream too, but I can't remember really. Paul, who's in this chat now, asked me if I could do another video with Gerard Fairley. I would be happy to do another video with Gerard if he wants to. I'm trying to figure out more things I want to ask him before I approach him with another video. But I think I could, I think we could probably come up with some more stuff. Paul, if you have more questions, feel free to leave them around. You could also ask Gerard directly if you have anything specific. So, Turkey Sandwich says that it sounds like Rick is smarter than me. That's possible, but is he smarter than a turkey sandwich? That's what I want to know. Yeah, so just like I was talking before, Chris Jarman, let's see here. Yeah, Chris Jarman says his ZR11 streams and graphs live data. Just like I said, you get hit or miss with these things. I'm not trying to say that they're all bad, and I'm just saying, like, it kind of fits, like, the qualification of, like, false advertising. If not every product does it, and not every product has a quality control there to prove they can do it, then you don't have it. Can't advertise it. So anyway, let's look here. So Michaels, he's got almost 2 first names. Commented on my review of the Harbor Freight version of the electric ratchet, similar to like what Snap-on and what Milwaukee sells. Their Earthquake XT electric ratchet. He said he was commenting on what I was taught when I was going over the torque specifications of both of the ratchets, which I think are important. I mean, they're both advertising, torque specifications, so seems like they should be, standing behind them. He says electric ratchets are for running bolts in or out. They are not meant to apply a lot of torque in either direction. Well, okay, I mean, that's not like I don't understand the point he's trying to make. I think what he's trying to say is that he doesn't think that they're meant to break bolts free or to fully tighten them, which I guess like is true-ish. I mean, it depends, because I don't rely on my Milwaukee electric ratchet, which is the one that I actually use. I don't rely on it to, apply the full level of torque to fully fasten something. Like, I always give it a little snug down after. That's just, being safe with it, right? You can't just sit there and, just willy-nilly be using these tools like that. I mean, it'd be nice, but there's no way to know what you're getting, because as the battery runs down, but as far as like applying a lot of torque in either direction, it's gonna apply as you can use it to with as much force as any similar 3/8 ratchet you would do, like something of a similar size. Keep in mind, it does have a plastic body, so don't sit there and like hit it with a hammer or anything like that, but any reasonable amount is fine. And then on top of that, the torque specification on it is, important, because I can't tell you how many times I use that thing on like little body panels and stuff, and they're never, they're knowing like you have that much power to, start loosening a bolt out of a small little bolt out of a body panel is nice, and it's annoying when you have to free it up first, but I guess that's my point. And then also I commented on it and said having a good amount of torque is nice when you're dealing with a fastener with some rust, though. You might have that initial break on it, but find a dry spot in the threads as you turn it further. So everybody that's worked on a rusty bolt before, you could feel like, oh yeah, it's going pretty easy now, it'll be out in a minute, and then you hit a spot that has more rust than the rest, and then you gotta start cranking again. But if you have an electric ratchet with a good amount of torque and it's just spinning right up the the threads, and then it gets to a bad spot, it's got some momentum on it, whatever, and then it's got some torque behind it, it'll hit that and it just won't stop. It'll just keep turning and it'll be out in a second. So yeah, the amount of torque that it applies is important, whether or not he believes that. Epic Mikey says he got the same exact car, the 2004 Nissan Sentra. That video is pretty old. I'm surprised that so many people are interested in it, watching it and everything. He has the same exact car, and he says it has 420,000 kilometers on it. That's a lot. I know it sounds like a lot, but it's a lot, because a kilometer is more than a mile. So like, what is that? So 420,000 kilometers to miles. So it's 260,975 miles. So okay, yeah, no, a kilometer is what? Let me see here. Yeah, it's 260,000 miles. All right, that's not that crazy. I mean, it's a lot, but it's not as much as it sounds like. Like, I was thinking like it was a little bit closer to a mile. Actually, for some reason, I was thinking of a kilogram is more than a pound. We don't use a metric system, so it's hard for me. But yeah, APME1234 commented on the video that I did with Mr. Fairley. He said more scams. How do I respond to that? What's a good tactful way to say something to that? The best thing that I can say about it is, no matter what thing you enter into, any dealing that you enter into with other people, you got to go forward with it with some, I'm trying to think of like a tactful way to say it. It doesn't matter if you're dealing with Gerard Fairley, you're dealing with Randy Barber, you're dealing with, it doesn't matter if you're dealing with, your local new car dealership. You got to do your due diligence. You got to do the right thing to protect yourself financially. My video with him was not in any way me promoting him and saying, I think you should do this. What else I was saying in that video, and the only point of that interview, it's totally unbiased. I was asking all the questions that I could come up with, and they were not necessarily like easy questions in my opinion. I mean, without being disrespectful to him, and just like anybody would do. Like, I mean, how am I gonna sit in front of a guy and sit there and just say to him like, oh, well, your program's a scam, prove to me that it's not a scam? I'm not gonna do that. I don't care. Even it, I don't know that his program is a scam. It has the ability of being true, and you guys should know by now that if I know for a fact that something is a scam, like something like, I'm gonna definitely tell you. I'm not gonna even interview the guy. I'm just gonna like say, hey, this is what happened with it. I'm not gonna like disrespect him, like, and make a video of me disrespecting him to his face and get his reaction. Like, that's just not right. Like, I wouldn't start off that way. If something was a scam and I saw him doing something wrong by people, I'd tell you that before anything. But I don't really see that. Do I think it's an awesome deal, like financially? It's all right, because there's certain situations where it makes sense, right? So different states have different rules. If you live in a state that needs you to like prove like net worth and you can't do it, or if you're not really doing this enough to warrant like having your own dealership, and you just want to get into like some car auctions and buy some cars, for friends or whatever, then that works pretty good. If you're one situation that I could see that I don't think is really being capitalized on here, though, is there are so many people, from overseas that are trying to export cars from the United States constantly, and there has to be some type of dealer involved to make that happen for them, to get them into the auctions, to get the cars at low enough price that by the time they ship them to Somalia or wherever they're going overseas, you know, Uganda, Somalia, there's all types of African countries that want our cars, for parts, or, you know, to you know, they have to take them apart, put them in a container and ship them. So a lot of times it's really just for parts, but sometimes they'll send them to a shop where they're reassembled in country so that they can get through customs. So there's a couple different ways that they do that. And I think if you're a person in that situation, working with a guy like Mr. Fairley would actually make sense, because you know, you're going to be doing a lot of cars. You're going to be working with a lot of capital. $1,500 isn't anything, honestly. You know, we're just talking about like his base rate for like anybody off the street. So, you know, you start getting like, you know, the kind of volume you're going to do, just like he talked about in the video, the rates kind of change with more volume. So I guess, like, I don't know how else to say it. Like, you know, you got to look at it from your own situation. How hard is it for you to get a dealer's license? Not in general. You got to look at where you live, the rules there, the amount of money you have to invest in this, and you got to look at your own background and everything, because there's so many different things here that are going to make all the difference. You could be in a state where it has really strict rules about trying to get a dealer's license, and, you know, you got one of two choices. Make it, you know, move, or work, work with a guy like Mr. Fairley. Is he a scam? I don't know. I don't think so. I mean, but how do I know? You know, how do I know that the shop next to me is a scam or not? I don't know. I haven't worked with them. I can talk to them. I'll tell you what they say. I don't honestly know. But I don't think so. I don't think that he's scamming people. I can see where this is profitable for him, while still being, you know, an upstanding, you know, businessman. So that's where I'm at with it. Paul says, okay, I think I figured it out. If you make a video with a good title, people will check on it. Yeah, sometimes. But at the same time, you got to keep in mind that YouTube analytics is watching like how long people are watching the video. So you could make a video with a spot on title, like for instance, if I made a video right now that said, you know, Elvis Presley came back from the dead. Well, you know, some people are going to see that and be like, whoa, what does he mean? Let's look at it. And they'll watch it for like 1 second, realize that it's full of shit, and click off of it, whatever. The analytics system of YouTube will know that there's something wrong with this video. Yeah, when people see it, they click it, but they don't spend enough time on it, so we're not going to show it to as many people. So that's why the title isn't everything. What's in the video is what matters. So Paul Tracy says, so if you make a video, this is Paul saying this, by the way, if you make a video that shows you viewing/buying a Mercedes S600, your views will skyrocket. I don't know. I don't buy a Mercedes. I will never buy a Mercedes ever. If you give me a Mercedes for free, I will take it and I'll bring it to the junkyard. Unless somebody will buy it. I mean, obviously, but for the most part, like, I'm just kind of bullshitting about like taking it straight to the junkyard. But yeah, there's like almost no deal on a Mercedes I'm willing to invest in, because I don't know the car. Like I said, it's not that Mercedes are actually that bad. Like, I just don't know the product. So, Paul, you retracted the message before I got a chance to read it, man. You're so quick with that thing, man. Look, you guys see this guy? So, anyway, like I was saying about the Mercedes, it's not something I would deal with. And, I mean, put it this way. I know so little about Mercedes because I just don't care about them. I don't want to work on them. And, you know, maybe I'm limiting myself, but I just don't know that product well enough. I don't even know the difference between like an S600 and, you know, whatever the next, you know, number you spit out at me. I'm not gonna know. Yeah, but Paul, I didn't even get a chance to read the comment. Paul's like retracting these messages before I even get to read them. I started to like catch it out of a corner of my eye, and I was preparing to figure out a way to answer it, and now I can't even answer it because it's gone. Randy's Copart videos about the cars get a huge amount of views. Yeah, I guess so. Yeah, they do get a good amount of views, but number one thing about Copart is the deal isn't even that good when you add it all up. Like, people don't look into like the underlying part of Copart for like a retail buyer. It just doesn't work when you figure it in. When you figure it into like, for instance, you know, you gotta pay all these like fees and everything. Like, you have to pay a broker like at least $200 to make this transaction come together from Copart, and then they just keep cranking up the you know, the prices with all these small little fees, nickel and diming you, and you end up spending almost double what you paid for the car if it's like a cheap car. If you spend $500 on a car from Copart and you have to pay a broker to get you that car, you better believe it's going to cost you close to $1,000, very close to $1,000. So that's basically double. Well, that's not such a good deal anymore on a lot of these cars, you know. So I'm not like, you know, guys like Sam Crack and you know, Auto Auction Rebuilds, they're getting good deals from IAA and Copart, and IAA actually isn't horrible if you can, you know, it's not as bad on the fees, but you still got to pay a broker to get you in there, like another dealer with a dealer's license to get you the car. That's the only way you're gonna do it, and I don't understand why they do that. Like, they don't really, like, those auctions don't have to sell only to dealers. They're kind of like adding like a middleman to this process that they don't have to have. I guess like Copart somehow sees that as a benefit to them, but I don't know, maybe there's a law that restricts them from selling to the public, but there's public auctions too that are backed by a dealership already. So like, hey Kyle, make a video about a car, watch your views go up and your subscribers go up. Listen, dude, I literally have like, how many videos about cars? It's not making a video about a car that makes a difference. The reason why this is all working for them is because they are subscriber and view driven, and I am not. I am just audience driven. All I care about is finding an audience that likes what I'm doing, just straightforward. It'll be a way better audience than, you know, people that I attract in by tricking the algorithm to do it, right? So like, what they're doing, and no offense to everybody that does this, you know, I understand this is your hustle, but this just isn't my thing. What these guys are doing is they're taking and they'll go through and they'll make a video, they'll look for the most interesting part of the video, and they'll make that the title and the thumbnail, but they'll make that part at least halfway into the video. So you have to watch like a bunch of other shit before you get to that interesting part. So they might like tease you a little bit in the intro, right? They'll show like that interesting part at first, so you stick around for a second, and then they'll switch over to like something that's not quite as interesting but is okay, and then they'll go through, and then eventually, like about halfway, maybe a little bit later in the video, they'll get to the interesting part. And so that tricks the algorithm into thinking their retention rate is really, really good, and then it'll like boost their video up a lot more. So, you know, I'm just not gonna do that. If I make a video about something, I'm gonna try really hard to make that video start to finish about that thing. Like, I'm not trying to make it about 100 other smaller things that really aren't interesting. If you come to my video, good chance that whatever I say that video is about, that's what it's going to be about at the start. So, you know, and people will learn that, and people will stick around for it, and if they don't like it, they can leave. I don't care what the algorithm does. I care, but only to the extent that it really matters. You know, it doesn't, if I'm getting 100 people that don't care, I'm just going to get a bunch of hateful comments, you know, saying it's clickbait, which I don't think I've ever had I've had some hateful comments before, but I've never been accused of clickbait, ever, and I pride myself on that. So, Paul says, dude, you ever watch Jenna Marbles? Yeah, I don't think that, I've watched her like a long time ago, And I don't think that like her videos were made like that, but you got to remember that she was doing this really, she gained her popularity like back before this algorithm thing was really as prominent, as prevalent as it is right now. Back when like videos were only allowed to be a certain amount of time, like less than whatever, 5 minutes or 10 minutes or whatever. Now you can sit here, I mean, I've been making a stream for the last 54 minutes, so you know, right now I'm at least 5 or 6 times longer than, you know, the videos that, you know, she was allowed to make back when she first hit her stride. So plus, you know, she's got big boobs, so that's a pretty big benefit. If I had some nicer boobs, I might be a little bit better off, but I'm not trying to like knock her or anything like that. Like, she did gain, you know, a pretty successful following. There's a lot of other girls on YouTube that have big tits, so, but yeah, I have watched her. But yeah, I don't know, Paul, dude, you should go to Copart and make videos just like that, and if nothing else, you will he says them are some biggins. Yep, they sure are. But yeah, you should go there and leverage your career as a race car driver in the Indy 500 to really have a successful channel. But here's the problem, dude. You might have you might have an issue though, because you're so afraid of the NSA watching you that you know, you might have to go ahead and delete everything like 10 minutes after you post it, and it's a lot of work just to delete it from YouTube. But he says, I am Copart bound. All right, man. I am coming out of my shell soon. Yeah, I think that there is somebody behind the curtain of Paul Tracy, I gotta tell you, because I'm going to make some money. Paul, dude, I know that there's somebody behind the curtain right now. It's not me, mate. I mean, I'm only one guy. How many times can I go back and forth? But there's definitely somebody behind the curtain, because I caught you making comments from your other YouTube account that you didn't think I was gonna find, and then I found that account making comments on Rick Dyer's videos. So you're playing both sides of the aisle right now, which is very interesting to me. I find that very interesting. I wonder what your angle is. But you know, I don't care. You can be a fan of him. I don't care. I mean, let me know when you send him $1,500 and join his class. That'd be interesting. Yeah, I got you. The NSA might not have you, but I got you, Paul. So, alright, here's another one. Gord235 says, nothing here worth watching on one of my couple of Rick Dyer videos. Paul says, hey man, how did you find me over there? Well, somebody had mentioned that Rick was like saying something about me on one of his videos, and I can't remember which one it was, and I went over just to look at it real quick. They gave me like the time. So they gave me like the time in the video where he mentioned it, and sometime around that I saw your other account making comments in the stream that weren't really related to me at all, so I don't even care. How the heck do you search someone's name on YouTube? What do you mean? There's a search box right at the top. Just type in their name. Are you trying to like I don't understand. I don't understand what you're trying to do, I guess. Like, are you trying to find their channel, or what? You'll have to give me some more explanation on it. Anyhow, on one of my other Rick videos, this guy Gord235, who I know is a Rick fan, because back when I used to really follow his channel, I should see him commenting from time to time. He just like gets on there and says, nothing here worth watching. Well, you know, I mean, well, I don't know what he thinks is going to happen. Like, people are going to like come to a video with several hundred, actually I think it might even be over 1,000 views, and see like, you know, something that they might be interested in. I mean, obviously if they clicked on it, it's something they're interested in for one reason or another, and they'd be like, oh man, Gord, thanks so much, you saved me so much time by making this comment. There's nothing here worth watching. Well, I'm not going to watch anymore You know, I mean, obviously, dude, like, you can make a comment like that, but I don't know what you think, like, that's gonna gain you or anybody else. It's pretty funny, actually. Old Steven Lutz commented, if you own a Ford product, a $5 Android app called ForScan will do pretty much everything the ZR13 will do. The Windows 10 ForScan app download is free. I am considering the ZR11 or 13 for non-Ford cars. We'll probably launch a CRP 129 soon. Okay. Launch a CRP 129 though. Okay. Okay. So Paul says, when Mr. Happy Face was attacking Smart Ride, I was defending him. When he mentioned your name, I didn't badmouth you. Yeah, I mean, okay, what? I don't even know what happened with Smart Ride. Like, I don't really even know. Like, I know he made, like, a video with him at one time, and that was all I really know. I think he did, but I don't remember him attacking him, but I know that other people have said he has, and I think he alluded to it before. As far as, like, mention my name, you saw I didn't badmouth you. Yeah, I mean, you know, it's not a big deal, dude. You can badmouth me if you want. Like, it's just whatever. Like, I ain't worried about it. I'm worried about if he says something bad about me or you say something bad about me. I mean, I think it's funny when he, like, goes and says, like, for instance, you know, I think it's just funny, like, when he just, like you just said, no, not a hater. Criticism does not equal hate. If you or Rick or Randy Barber even has had criticisms about me, whatever, any of you guys have a criticism, I'm not going to sit there and degrade your claims as just being haters. It doesn't mean anything. It doesn't have anything to it. Like, okay, you're a hater. Well, let's think about what is a hater. What, you know, if you know, if everybody that was upset with you know, Bernie Madoff for stealing their money and sent them, you know, upset letters and had, like, interviews when they said, like, all the bad things that happened to them and how much they were upset with them, would you say that those people are haters? You know, would you say that police that, you know, are going out and catching real criminals, not, like, you know, little petty stuff that's just like a money grab from the state, but I'm talking about, like, real criminals, like, looking for real crimes, and, you know, and saying that, like, people that are doing, like, things like, you know, any type of crime that actually is harmful, you know, would they be haters because they don't want to see those people in their communities? I don't think so. So I guess my whole problem with it is when you go and somebody criticizes you and you're not willing to reflect on, like, why that criticism is, how that's structured, how you can answer it and actually help with that criticism, and you just say, nope, that has no real weight to it, they're just a hater. Well, I start to think, you know, maybe there's a problem with you. You know, not you personally, Paul, or anybody out there, but think about that, you know, before you just decide to say, that guy's a hater, I'm not going to listen to him because he's a hater, and stick your fingers in your ear and la 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 away. You know, that's it's not ever that simple. Now, somebody that just, you know, a hater to me is somebody that just sees you out there and just, you know, comes up with, you know, a bunch of shit just to say, like, oh, that person's ugly or they're stupid, da 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 da. That might be a hater, because it's not really a constructive criticism. It's not a criticism that helps anybody in any way, shape, or form. That might be a hater. But I don't think what I've said about anybody here is hater speech, if that makes any sense. And I don't think at least half of Rick's response to that is hater speech. Now, you start getting into, like, the thing where he's just, like, making all these assumptions about me and my life that aren't based on anything at all. at least everything I said, I went to like where I came up with that, right? I went to like a web page and showed you where it was. Whether or not it's true, I mean, I'm just, going by the same information everybody else has. So, I was at least backing what I was saying with something other than just my opinion. But he's just like saying stuff just to try and like, I don't know, is he just trying to make me feel bad? That might be like hater speech, but I mean, I respond to it minimally, and whatever. I don't have anything to prove about me because this wasn't about me. He's trying to make it about me because it takes the light off of him, but the reality is it's really about him and what he's done and what he's doing. And I don't know what else to say about it. I mean, I keep going over it, so I don't know how to read the most recent comment. So sure. So anyway, what was I gonna say? But yeah, and also if you do want to like contact me, as some people have privately, you can do so through my email, which you can find, if you want it to be like a private message to me, because I realize that some people, like this guy right here asking me not to read it out loud. I mean, even if you write it to me and you don't want me to read it out loud, it's still going to show up in the chat. So if you have like something you just want to talk to me like off the record about, you can do that just by contacting my email, and we can discuss it or whatever. If it's something like you don't want on the record. So I'll put my email right here in the chat for you guys, because I've had like actually a couple of people that have tried to contact me about stuff like related to this whole subject that didn't want their information shared like that. So I don't know what he is trying to talk to me about, but we'll see. So yeah, like I said, you can always contact me at that email, and we'll talk about whatever you got to say. So anyway, we were talking about Stephen Lutz here, and we were talking about Stephen Lutz here, that he I don't know. He doesn't want me to read the comments out loud, but that's kind of funny that he says it like that. Like, rhymes with it? Like, it doesn't rhyme with it. It literally is. Okay. I'll just let you go with that. But yeah, like I said, I mean, if it's something that you don't want to like put out there like that, you can. If it's something you don't want to put out there to the public right away, you can always just email me at that email, and that's totally fine. So anyway, this guy Stephen Lutz said, it was talking about how he has the Forescan app that he paid money to get the app and all that. And so I don't know enough about the app, but the fact is if it interfaces with an OBD2 peripheral, it's just like one of those things. Like, it'll still pull the codes even if sure, man. I just responded to the most recent comment. Yeah, sure, I'll do that. So you have to definitely email that to me, because I'm not going to be able to write it down right now for later, and I don't want to like put it out there for everybody to see. So anyway, so yeah, even like Ford IDS, I think you can plug it into like other vehicles outside of Ford's, which I might be wrong. I think I did it because I have Ford IDS. I have like a bootleg version. Don't tell anyone, right? Like, I'm only broadcasting that to the whole internet, right? So anyhow, if IDS does it, which is like the Ford proprietary software for working on their cars, you can probably do it with ForeScan. The thing is, okay, like I don't know. I'd have to look into ForeScan more, but there's so many other products that just aren't great. Honestly, like, how do I explain it? There's so many other like Bluetooth Android things like that just are okay. Like, they're good, but they're not like anything that blows my hair back, and that's why like I just have like a hard time suggesting them in general. It's like you gotta buy the app, which costs money, and then you gotta buy like the little plug, and then then you gotta connect it to your phone or your tablet, and then you've got all that extra going on with like a Bluetooth connection, and you got the software behind that. And I mean, they say it's great, but if you're trying to do this in any serious way, probably having something like that would be really, really, really tough to go and like look professional when you show up. So anyway, so we'll go down grinding VA style. So okay, grinding in style. It says he has a 99 Suburban with a 5.7 Vortec. Any bright ideas for mods? The whole thing is a Vortec 5.7 is just like a regular Chevy small block. It's a 350 with like Vortec heads, and it has regular port injection instead of throttle body. But essentially, like, the bottom of that motor and most of like the workings of that motor are very similar to like a regular small block Chevy. And as far as like modifying it, pretty much like by the time you get done, you would not really have like a modern Vortec engine, as they're called, Vortec. It's not really anything that special. You wouldn't really have the same engine anymore by the time you got done doing any meaningful modifications to it. And that's kind of what I said. I said, there's not that much you can do to it. Certainly not anything cheap or easy. Definitely not something cheap or easy. I mean, you're talking about like full rebuild type stuff, tearing it down all the way and all that. So he says it's got a Vortec blower on it. I don't want to like, stick my neck out on it, but I'm going to say it's a good motor for what it is. It's meant to be a truck motor. And the likelihood of that actually having a Vortec blower because as far as I know, is Vortec even really a blower company? Like, is that even, there's Paxton, there's Whipple. I've never heard of Vortec, but that doesn't mean it doesn't exist. I mean, I'm just one guy, but it sounds like, first of all, it's in a Suburban, so there's like no point. Like, what are you going to have, like a super fast Suburban? It's kind of weird. Ideas to Life commented on my video about Ideas to Life commented on my video about buying and selling cars. He said you do need to go and look at the video. Lowballing over the phone is pointless. I hate when people call me and say $3,000 cash today on a $5,000 car. I mean, what else can you pay with 3,000 coconuts? Yeah, I mean, it's just too often. I mean, I don't want to give out like my personal Facebook, but I have like messages from people on Facebook doing stuff like that. Like, there was like one woman who went and she like was looking at a car, and it was like only $1,200, and she like messaged me and said, well, will you take 1,000? Like right now, or it was something like that. She said it something like right now. It wasn't, that was like kind of the way she said it. And I said, yeah, or no, she said, will you take 1,000 cash, is what she said. I don't think she said right now, but she'll you take 1,000 cash. And I said, yeah, sure. When can you be here? And she goes, I didn't think you would respond. I can't get it until the 16th. And I pretty much said to her, okay, well, don't talk to me again. Because this was like the beginning of the month. Like, this was like the 5th or something like that. And I was like, okay, don't talk to me again. And she goes, oh, well, you're rude. And I said, no, you're rude because you're trying to, lower the price. You're trying to negotiate a price on something when you don't have any, like, means to buy it. You're just wasting my time. And I'm not interested in, you know, dealing with somebody that I have to wait for their welfare check to come in. It's just not worth it to me. So, yeah. Paul says, I ain't easy being cheesy. I said something like that at a strip bar one time. I said, cash for that ass. Oops, the bad side just came out. Yeah, well, you know, that's what happens sometimes. I don't want to, like, give out any names or anything like that, but myself and a friend of mine attended a gentleman's club, a cabaret in Phoenix, Arizona, a long time ago, like years and years ago. And we went in there, and I was pretty young at the time. I wasn't even of drinking age yet, but they still let me in. And when we were in there, we had come in just in time to see the A team come off the stage and the B team get onto the stage. And how do I put this tactfully and politely? The B team of the suburbs of Phoenix, Arizona, on a Thursday night, you know, they are not of the highest quality. These girls came out onto the stage, man, and it was like looking at somebody herding cattle. It was pretty bad. And specifically, the place had one main stage, right, that was like had like a catwalk all the way to the end, and like had a big, like, you know, widen out part, and then there were satellite stages around it. I think it was like 4. And Paul says, always tip the B team better. Yeah, just the tip. So anyway, there were these 4 satellite stages around the main stage area, something like that. It might have only been 2 or 3, but I think it was 4. And when you go to this place, they kind of look at you and they decide where they're going to put you. It depends on how many people you're with and how you're dressed and all types of different factors. But you're seated there. You don't get to just roam around this club. You're seated in a certain spot by the doorman. And they're very polite, actually, surprisingly. But yeah, this B team came out, and, you know, the girl that came up onto the stage that we were at, because we were at one of these satellite stages, so there's like a round, probably like a 12-foot circle, and this girl came out, and her dancing was just grotesque. And grotesque is probably, in general, it's probably like the nice way to put it, to be honest. This girl was just not the type of girl you want to see on stage in the little amount of clothes that she was wearing. And she was wearing these like platform acrylic heels or stilettos, and they were clear. You could see through them. They were translucent. And she was doing her moves, and you know, she rolled up onto her back, and she took these acrylic heels and clapped them together very, very loudly. And my friend could not control himself anymore, and he started laughing hysterically, which subsequently led to us being asked very, very nicely, with a firm hand on our shoulders, to vacate the establishment, which we did so. And we obviously did not consume the 4 beverage minimum of this place. But yeah. Anyway, that's my story about that, as Forrest Gump would say. I know that came out kind of long-winded, but it's like I'm trying to like say this stuff in a nice way that is YouTube friendly, so sometimes like not every story is going to be easy to position that way, so I'm doing my best. Let's look at some more here. I don't remember if I already answered these questions in another one of my what do you call it, videos of answering questions. So Paul says, was that a gay bar? I mean, no. It wasn't really a bar, for one thing. I was not even old enough to drink. It was literally just like a club that was like 18 and up that happened to have dancers that were paid with tips. Actually, I think I can't remember if it was this same place or another place that I went to in my hometown, where somebody was at the main stage, and the girl like did her thing or whatever. And these places, when you pay for your door entry, your cover fee, they give you your change in $2 bills. So what they do is they make the sum of money which it costs to enter, like something like $8 or whatever, some oddball, but even, it was an even number, but it was just like an odd, amount, so that way you don't get like a whole $10 amount, whatever. So it's like something like $8 and change, and then they return your change to you with $2 bills. Like they always, like no matter what, like they will not give you $1 bills in these places. They'll just give you $2 bills, which is really funny to me. But I guess it makes sense for the tips, right? Anyhow, so these guys take their change, and that's what they're tipping these girls with. And so there was some guys at the main stage, and the girl was okay, but apparently one of these guys was not impressed by the skills of this particular dancer. And when she went to leave the stage, he had already had his money up on the side of the stage, and when she went down to pick it up, he like grabbed it and wouldn't let her take it. And it became like a fight to the death for a $2 bill in this place, which I find immensely hilarious. Like, that girl, honestly, like, what is that $2 to her? I mean, at the end of the day, it's just one guy's $2. She's gonna like make a scene over it. Like, she could just like be like, all right, keep it, and then walk away and have him kicked out. I mean, it's as easy as a snap of a fingers. Obviously, the guy's a jerk. I mean, it's kind of what you do. You kind of get what you get, and if you don't think it's good enough, then you're not going to give her anything extra. But I'm just wondering, like, who's driving around outside. Sorry about that. But yeah, anyway, this stream is an hour and 21 minutes long, so I guess I'm gonna go ahead and wrap this one up, which usually when I say something like that is when all the views drop off. But if you guys enjoy this video, please feel free to give it a like, and subscribe for more. I like seeing you guys subscribing, and I really hope that this time the microphone is working correctly, because last time I had like the deepest Darth Vader voice ever. Like, it was horrible. So enjoy the rest of your Friday night, and the rest of your weekend, and I will catch you all in the next.